Hello and welcome. If you're in any kind of supportive role, a counselor, a teacher, a social worker, you spend so much of your time helping other people navigate their complex lives. But here's the thing. To do that well, you first need your own internal compass. So today, we're going to dive into what is truly the cornerstone of effective practice, internal self-awareness.
So, let's just start with the question that gets right to the heart of it all. Before you try to guide anyone else, how well do you really know your own internal terrain? I mean, your mountains, your valleys, all those hidden paths. That right there, that's the fundamental challenge we're going to explore.
Because here's the core idea, and it's backed by a ton of research. Great, ethical, and truly impactful work doesn't start with a fancy technique or a textbook. Nope, it starts with you. It all begins with a deep and, let's be honest, sometimes difficult understanding of your own internal world.
Okay, let's jump in. We're going to start by really defining what we mean when we talk about this professional inner terrain. What are we even looking for on this personal map of ours?
While drawing on the work of scholars like Neil Thompson and Jurowski, internal self-awareness is basically this: having a clear, conscious understanding of what's happening inside you. It's knowing your attitudes, what you truly value, and, this is the crucial part, how your own personal history has shaped every single bit of it. It's not just knowing what you feel, but really getting to the why.
So, if we're going to navigate this internal landscape, we need a map, right? Let's break down internal self-awareness into its key parts. Think of them as the essential landmarks you need to identify in your own internal world.
First up, we've got emotional intelligence. Researcher Don Stonehouse actually calls this a meta skill, which is so spot on because it affects everything else. It's your ability to recognize an emotion as it's happening, to know what your triggers are, and then to manage it all constructively. This is the skill that lets you separate your own emotional reaction to someone's story from what they're actually experiencing.
And building right on top of that is self-regulation. See, if emotional intelligence is noticing the feeling, self-regulation is what you do about it. It's that capacity to hit the pause button to stop your own frustration or anxiety from hijacking a really tense moment. It's what allows you to choose a thoughtful, professional response instead of just having a knee-jerk emotional reaction.
All right, now for a really tricky part of the map, our personal biases. And look, we all have them. They're basically baked into us from our family, our culture, our unique life experiences. The goal here isn't to pretend they don't exist. That's impossible. The real work of self-awareness is to drag them out into the open so we can see how they might be influencing our work.
And this quote from a youth support worker just nails it. It's a perfect example. Their first gut reaction was, this kid is being disrespectful. But then they did the work. They looked inward and realized that reaction was totally tied to their own upbringing. And that one moment of self-awareness changed everything. It literally flipped their perspective from judgment to empathy and completely transformed how they approached that young person. That's powerful stuff.
So we've kind of mapped the terrain. We know what to look for. But how do we actually, explore it? How do we build this awareness in our day-to-day lives? Well, the answer is all about the practice of reflection.
And as Don Stonehouse points out, reflective practice is not just spacing out and thinking about your day. It is the engine. It's a deliberate, structured process where you examine your actions, your thoughts, and your feelings to find a new level of understanding. It's how you turn just another day at work into genuine, hard-won self-insight. And it really doesn't have to be some big, complicated thing. Here's a super simple but powerful cycle you can use. First, just describe what happened, objectively, like a camera recording it. Step 2, analyze your internal reaction. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? Why did you do what you did? And finally, step 3, you plan. Based on what you just learned about yourself, what could you do differently next time? Describe, analyze, plan. That's the engine, right there in action.
Okay, so why does all of this matter so much? I mean, why go to all this trouble? Because developing this inner compass, it isn't just some nice self-improvement project. It has huge, direct benefits that make it the absolute cornerstone of your entire professional practice.
First and foremost, it lets you build way stronger, more authentic relationships. When you can clearly separate your own stuff, your anxieties, your history, your biases, from your client's stuff, you create this safe, uncluttered space just for them. And that separation is the absolute foundation of quality care. Second, you end up practicing more ethically. Jurowski makes such a critical point here. If we aren't aware of our own perspectives and our potential blind spots, we can easily let our unexamined assumptions get in the way of giving someone the best possible support.
Real self-awareness is basically a prerequisite for being truly fair and effective.
It also helps you uphold true professionalism. And being a professional isn't about being cold or robotic, it's about making conscious, intentional choices. Self-awareness is what gives you the power to set clear boundaries and respond thoughtfully from your professional values instead of just reacting defensively from a place of personal insecurity.
And finally, on a really practical level, this stuff helps prevent burnout. Let's face it, this work is emotionally draining. Being able to recognize and manage your own emotional responses to trauma and distress isn't a luxury. It's a critical survival skill for avoiding things like compassion fatigue and building a career that you can actually sustain for the long haul.
So the takeaway is pretty clear. This journey inward is probably the most important professional development you can ever do. And it doesn't have to be a giant leap. It can start with just one small step. So as we wrap up, I'll leave you with this question to take with you. What's one part of your internal world, a feeling, a bias, a gut reaction, that you will commit to exploring this week?